Khamenei was at that moment sitting in council with his nation's top officials, believing himself to be in an absolutely secure location, unaware that danger was already closing in. 1,000 miles away, an Israeli fighter squadron was already racing toward him in the early morning light. The supreme leader of this nation of 92 million had just 2 hours left to live. This article provides an in-depth reconstruction of the entire operation by the United States and Israel to eliminate Iran's supreme leader. At 6:30 a.m. Israeli time, a strike group took off and headed straight for Tehran. The vanguard of this raid consisted of F-15 Eagle fighter jets. Though this aircraft has been in service for 50 years, continuous deep upgrades and modifications have transformed it into a top-tier aerial killing machine. The thrust provided by its twin engines allows this heavy fighter to exceed Mach 2.5. The F-15 can climb vertically straight into the clouds, nose pointed skyward, accelerating upward against gravity. Its state-of-the-art radar functions like a digital sniper scope, capable of locking onto and destroying enemy aircraft before they even enter visual range. The F-15 typically carries large quantities of air-to-air munitions, but for this mission, their target was not enemy aircraft, it was a key individual. Mounted beneath the wings were dozens of Sparrow missiles developed by Israel's Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, a cutting-edge air-launched ballistic weapon. After the pilot presses the launch button, the missile doesn't fly in a straight line but instead climbs sharply to the upper atmosphere, relying on dual guidance from military GPS and inertial navigation to return to Earth in a hypersonic dive strike. Pilots can launch missiles from a safe airspace 1,000 kilometers away and still precisely hit a target the size of a dining table. The strike precision is terrifying. The F-15 squadron, loaded with dozens of these kinetic kill weapons, headed east at full speed. The flight to Tehran would take over 2 hours, but the target individual was normally so well hidden that conventional methods offered no opportunity for action. In the eyes of the United States and Israel, Khamenei was far from foolish. To the Iranian people, he was their #1 spiritual leader, projecting an unshakable image of strength. He had even claimed that even if he were assassinated, it wouldn't slow down the development of the Islamic Republic of Iran one bit. However, behind closed doors, the reality was different. He had ordered the construction of 2 separate deep underground rock shelters beneath his heavily guarded Tehran compound. These shelters were buried deep underground. To reach the blast-proof security doors, one had to take a dedicated elevator. The elevator journey from ground level to the bedrock depth took a full 5 minutes. He had adopted the survival strategy of his former ally, Hezbollah leader Nasrallah, hiding in underground bunkers every evening and only emerging to work in his surface office during daylight hours. On June 12, 2025, war completely rewrote the situation. Israel launched a massive raid on Iranian military and nuclear facilities, killing multiple senior military commanders and eliminating top nuclear scientists. After this bloody conflict, Khamenei completely withdrew from public view, living in near seclusion, spending most of his time hidden deep underground. Israel and the United States faced a brutal tactical reality. The opportunities to eliminate the supreme leader were extremely few. The target himself was highly suspicious and vigilant. Only during extremely brief, fleeting windows would he appear on the surface and fall within strike range. The U.S. had to precisely calculate these rare moments of exposure and immediately launch a strike once the optimal opportunity arrived. To accomplish this, they began collecting massive amounts of intelligence. Over several months, U.S. and Israeli intelligence agencies launched round-the-clock, high-density surveillance operations, comprehensively mining all available information. They not only monitored Khamenei himself but also tracked his staff, attendants, personal security detail, mapped out his core confidant network, monitored all his advisors, registered his family members, closely watched all high-level officials who had contact with him, pinpointing his whereabouts at every moment, his daily routines, and the internal layout of his compound, all to lock in the perfect date, time, and location for a strike, ensuring that when the opportunity came, they would strike decisively. The operation could not afford to fail. Israeli operatives used highly classified methods to penetrate directly into Tehran, taking over traffic surveillance cameras along Pasteur Street where Khamenei's compound was located. Through this network intrusion, they achieved 24/7 real-time monitoring of the area, pulling live footage and tracking personnel movements at all times. After months of silent observation, Israeli intelligence forces created a detailed intelligence map of the area, mastering every minute detail, the compound, the drivers, the bodyguards' commute routes, recording daily duty shifts, tracking security personnel's protective assignment rotations, even noting their preferred parking spots. A former senior CIA operative explained the intelligence work of this operation this way: it's like assembling a giant jigsaw puzzle, integrating fragmented information piece by piece. Where existing intelligence has gaps, you dig deeper to fill them in. No detail is too small. Personnel and material waste disposal flows. Everyone has routines and daily activities, eating, sleeping, working. Every action leaves traces that are exploitable. Intelligence leads. Israeli operatives also infiltrated cell towers around Pasteur Street, monitoring the communications and movement of Iranian officials and their entourage. Intelligence personnel collected massive amounts of raw data, fed it into classified algorithms for automated pattern analysis, precisely mapping out the complete activity profile of Iran's core command circle. The CIA was equally committed, deploying exclusive resources and technical capabilities to closely monitor Khamenei's every move, tracking his schedule, meetings, and deeply ingrained lifestyle habits, comprehensively understanding his daily social routines, and accurately predicting the times when he would most likely leave his bunker and appear on the surface. Day after day, week after week, month after month, the world's two premier intelligence powers remained hidden in the shadows, quietly observing the daily activities of Iran's top leadership, patiently waiting for that singular window of opportunity to execute the perfect decapitation strike. Before long, intelligence personnel detected critical anomalous activity. Israeli intelligence learned that Khamenei would hold a major high-level meeting at his surface compound on February 28, with numerous top Iranian officials set to gather. The target lineup for this strike was massive: Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Commander-in-Chief Pakpour, Iranian Defense Minister Nazarzadeh, Chairman of Iran's Military Committee Admiral Shamkhani, IRGC Aerospace Force Commander Mousavi, Iranian Deputy Intelligence Minister Shirazi. Even Khamenei's immediate family members would all be present, including his son Mojtaba, daughter Bashra, and her spouse, all planning to attend the meeting. According to intelligence sources, the CIA had already placed a key informant on the ground who confirmed that this high-level meeting would proceed as planned. Some intelligence experts speculate that a deep mole had already been planted within Khamenei's inner circle, who ultimately chose to defect and leak information. This moment was the golden opportunity the U.S. and Israel had been waiting for. A chance to strike a devastating blow to Iran's entire leadership, with the core team gathered in one place with no second chance. It was a once-in-a-lifetime hunting opportunity. The US and Israel had already quietly formulated a plan to raid Iran, initially planning to launch the attack under cover of darkness at night, but this sudden meeting opportunity completely overturned the original tactical deployment. Days before the operation launch, they urgently overhauled the entire battle plan, abandoning the nighttime raid in favor of striking in broad daylight, choosing the moment when Iran's leadership would be most relaxed and completely unprepared. As the final strike date approached, the US and Israel maintained strict operational security, not allowing any operational intent to leak. If the Iranian regime caught wind of it, the February 28 high-level meeting would be immediately cancelled, and Khamenei would quickly retreat underground to his deep bunker where even Israel's most advanced ballistic missiles couldn't reach him. The US successfully sealed all intelligence leaks completely, but daytime operations also carried fatal risks. If any civilian or security personnel spotted the incoming fighters, just one phone call would allow Khamenei to take the 5-minute elevator ride to his bunker, and the entire mission would immediately fail. Months of planning and years of intelligence groundwork would be wasted. To prevent this, the US had to achieve complete communications blackout across the area. Both intelligence agencies simultaneously activated digital control measures, using the local cell towers they controlled to suppress network service, jamming all communications around Pasteur Street, using signal interference to completely cut off the network. Even if panicked security personnel wanted to call security forces for warning or contact Khamenei's personal guard, they wouldn't be able to get through any communication lines. By locking down the entire area through digital means, an invisible killing trap was set. At 9:40 a.m. local time, the precision strike officially began. Israeli aircraft on high-altitude standby released their munitions, with dozens of Sparrow missiles racing at high speed directly toward Khamenei's compound. Within mere seconds, multiple precision air-to-ground missiles accurately hit their targets, and the reinforced concrete structure that had stood for decades instantly became a burning pile of rubble. Adet Elam, former head of Mossad's counterterrorism division, summarized the brutal nature of modern warfare this way: the entire operation took only 60 seconds, but it was backed by years of intelligence accumulation and planning. The decisive factors on modern battlefields are no longer just conventional equipment like tanks and aircraft, but intelligence gathering, psychological warfare, and timing. A single minute can reshape regional dynamics. This operation is the best proof. Massive billowing black smoke rose into the sky, and nearby residents witnessing the scene of destruction were all shocked and terrified. In an instant, Khamenei's highly symbolic compound was completely leveled. This place that had provided shelter for him and top officials no longer existed, and Khamenei himself died in the attack. The few personnel inside the compound who had narrowly escaped the first round of missile strikes frantically searched for shelter. Khamenei's son Mojtaba was among the very few lucky ones. Moments before the ballistic missiles arrived, he happened to step outside for air. Though severely injured in the leg and having lost his father, wife, and young son in the explosion, he managed to crawl out of the rubble alive. Khamenei, however, had no chance of survival. The life of this 86-year-old supreme leader of Iran came to an abrupt end in the sudden attack, along with many of his closest confidants and core officials killed in a single strike. In just this one attack, Iran's supreme national leadership was precisely eliminated. Images from after the strike vividly showed the apocalyptic scale of destruction. In the hours that followed, U.S. and Israeli forces continued to launch multiple rounds of airstrikes on Iranian air defense facilities, radar stations, military bases, and critical infrastructure. The surviving remnants of Iran's leadership hastily formed a three-person interim governing committee to barely maintain surface control and nominated Mojtaba Khamenei as the new supreme leader. A decapitation strike on the first day of war is the ultimate killer move in military strategy. When Putin ordered the invasion of Ukraine, he too had envisioned replicating such a perfect 60-second victory scenario, but ultimately became mired in protracted bloody warfare. Thank you for watching.